Welcome back to Transportation Development. I'm Cheryl Harleston. This is the program that's all about the sales tax that was passed a number of years ago, and the opportunities that are being provided for bicyclists and walkers and joggers and all of those folks in something called multi-use paths. And my guest today is Kurt Cavanaugh, and he is the Executive Director of Charleston Moves. And just one more time, Kurt, Charleston Moves is?
Officially a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy group, but I like to say that we are a livable, lovable Charleston advocacy group.
Okay.
So.
And you're from New York, or
originally,
did you come
from
New York here?
I kind of grew up everywhere. I grew up in Michigan, went to North Carolina for a while, but before coming here, I spent my last 9+ years in New York City.
I can't imagine how you've gotten involved with bicycle safety and bicycling and paths, multi-use paths like the ones that we're building with the sales tax program. How did you get involved in all of this?
Well, it was funny. One of my dear friends who lives in New Orleans now, she and I were friends and colleagues in New York City. She moved down to New Orleans with her husband a couple of years back and became involved with their bike and pedestrian advocacy group. They're called Bike Easy, the Big Easy. And maybe last January, she sent me the job listing for Charleston Moves. And I looked outside and it was 15 degrees and snowing in New York City. And I was like, well, I just looked up online the weather in Charleston. It was 58 degrees and sunny, and I was like, I'm not going to apply for that job. But I've been interested in safe streets advocacy, bike advocacy, you name it, for a number of years, since graduate school in North Carolina, so 10, 12, 15 years now, actually.
And in a nutshell, Charleston Moves is about what?
Safe, sane streets for every user, biking, walking, even the motorist. So just safer streets for everyone.
So apparently it's working for bicyclists and joggers and walkers, this notion that Charleston County is involved with. One of the main projects that they're doing with the sales tax program is providing opportunities for people who are walkers and joggers and bicyclists and all of this kind of thing with multi-use paths, both in the street and on raised conditions.
Right.
And it's working, I hope, and we all hope. What do you think as a result of our work? Is this helping your movement, your cause any?
Absolutely. What's happening is it's working so well that we want more, right? And so I'll be frank here. I mean, we love what the county is doing with the multi-use paths, with striping some bike lanes, but we need to ensure that they're all connected. So there's like a big group of them, and we can go from A to B comfortably and enjoyably, either walking, jogging, or riding our bicycles, just like our streets are connected, right? So you can drive from A to B. Everything's connected.
They're not connected yet, or is this something that you and your organization are having to ask for, or try to get the county to do? What's going on? What's the status?
We advocate for, for instance, the Ben Sawyer multi-use path. Everyone loves it. People are in the old village can just pop over to it and leave their keys at home and bike or walk or jog to the beach, or you can use it to work out, whichever way you want to use it. It's great that it's there. But right now, for instance, we have something called the Battery to Beach route. And it's a long-term vision and our vision is a world-class bike and pedestrian route from the Battery downtown Charleston to our area beaches. Right. So you don't have to drive to our area beaches. They're gems. They're outstanding beaches. Living in New York, Sullivan's Island is much nicer than Coney Island, right?
What are you up against, though? The organization of Battery to Beach. What are you up against? What do you need to have happen so that you can realize this idea?
There's two big things that are happening right now. On the Mount Pleasant side, for instance, leading up to the Ben Sawyer multi-use path, we have bike lanes that aren't quite continuous. There's sections where on Coleman Boulevard, that's our route, from the foot of the Ravenel Bridge to the foot of the multi-use path on Ben Sawyer. There are some parts of Coleman Boulevard with no bike lane and some parts that have the bike lane. We need connection the whole way through. So right now you're kind of riding outside of a bike lane in pretty gnarly conditions on Coleman Boulevard outside the bike lane. So that connectivity needs to be made. And the other side of it, on the other side of town, the Legree Bridge bike and pedestrian lane connecting downtown Charleston and West Ashley. That has been approved by Charleston City Council and by others, and we're waiting for that to break ground and be realized.
I can hear folks saying now, but we don't need bicycles on the road. Roads are for cars and for trucks and for buses, for big things. And putting bicycles next to a bus or a truck sounds like that's room for an accident or a problem. Have there been accidents?
There have been too many collisions in Charleston and Charleston County.
Is that right? Is that between the traffic flow, or is that because of the traffic flow, or is it because the driver is at fault, or is it because the bicyclists, they don't understand what the rules of the road happen to be or are? Where is that? What's going on here?
Of course, it's case by case, but a lot of times what you see are what I call unforgiving streets. For instance, streets that have no other markings or facilities other than just the travel lanes. There are no directions, so to speak, on how to use the road if you're actually walking or biking. What I see when I see a bike lane, or when I see even a bike sharrow on the street, a little chevron marking on the street, it's almost a user guide for that individual who's biking on how to use the street. We hear all the time things like, "Oh, those dang bikers, they fly through red lights, or they don't they ride the wrong way." But that can be mitigated with kind of a user guide printed right on the street. When you put in a bike lane, you see wrong way riding go down. You see sidewalk riding disappear. So when you actually have facilities, it's almost like a reminder to everyone, the person on the bike, and also the person behind the wheel, of this is where you should be on the street.
So what we're saying then is it's a given. There are going to be bicyclists. There are going to be joggers. And there are going to be generations of them coming along. And I'm sure your organization is looking at ways that we can get young people involved in this kind of thing. So it's not going to go away. So the two must come together.
Yeah.
And that's the traffic and the bicyclists. Is
Sure.
that the idea? Is that what you're working towards?
Yeah, the idea is pretty much that everyone's trying to simply go either from A to B, or trying to work out, or trying to use the same space.
Yeah.
We need to do it safely. And
is there enough space?
There absolutely is enough space.
There is.
There is. We just need to be creative sometimes in how we divide up the space. For instance, a lot of times you look at our streets and, for instance, some of our street lanes for cars are 14 feet wide. They could be 11 or 10 feet wide. And then when you have 4 lanes of that squeezing down, all of a sudden you have extra space to work with. If you simply restripe, or if you want to give more space to other users, you can make it work.
We've heard about accidents, and I hate to bring this up, but it's a fact.
Sure.
And I don't know who's at fault. Is it the driver, the car, the truck, or the bicyclist? Right. And it doesn't really matter. The fact is that we've lost a life or 2 or 3, and that's not a good thing. What's going on there? Are people using various roadways that they shouldn't be using on bicycles, or is there no such thing as shouldn't be using? All the roads are open to bicyclists. Is that the way we should be thinking about it?
Well, like you mentioned a second ago, people on bicycles, people walking, we're everywhere, and we saw that with the downtown bike plan, with our outreach for Where Do You Bike. People are biking everywhere, and people have a legal right to be on the road pretty much everywhere, unless it's the interstate or something like that, less prohibited. So you're going to see more and more people choosing to get around on their bikes, or to recreate on their bikes or walking. So what happens a lot of times is speed causes these kinds of things. For instance, there's a really good graphic that I'd like to show sometime, showing what the motorists can see at 15 miles an hour with what they can see at 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. That field of vision changes quite a bit as speed increases. So you see fewer things. And when you're riding your bike, you see a lot more. So a lot of it is about visibility. A lot of it's about street design. And for instance, we'll see things like, there's a wide open street that's 4 lanes and it says 35 miles an hour. We all know, because of the way the street's designed, that no one's going that slowly. People are going faster because the street is designed for a higher speed. So what we're seeing is a combination of speed plus few facilities that are set aside for those who are biking or walking causing some of these things. And we can point to cultural and driver inattention and things like that, but well, we can disagree on this and that. We can all agree that any life lost is, one too many.
And we've gone through that in this community, and I don't know who's at fault.
Sure.
And that's not what we're discussing here, but certainly there's room for improvement.
Sure.
On the part of the bicyclists, the joggers, etc. They must remember the rules of the road, and I'm sure that your organization provides information on traveling the roads here in the Charleston area and how one should do it. Plus, there must be other safety tips that you provide. What do you say to the bikers and to the joggers who are using these various paths? Are there rules or are there ways that they should be implementing to make sure that they are safe on the roadways?
Sure, it's not rocket science, right? Those on bikes and those walking should be using the same, stopping at stop signs, stopping at red lights, and all these things. And we actually had last month in May, it was National Bike Month, but I call it Charleston Bike Month. We actually had 4 educational workshops for those who are biking already and those who want to learn more. We partnered with a group called Bike Law. We're very fortunate here in Charleston that Bike Law is headquartered here, and Bike Law is a national network, actually international network of bicycle and pedestrian personal injury attorneys. But they're experts on the laws of bicycling. And we worked with them hand in hand this past month. But yes, ride with lights at night, be as visible as possible, and just, share the road as you would if you were driving. Stop at red lights, stop at stop signs.
Just as in all good conversations, there's no more time.
Oh.
And we've run out of time, and you've given us a lot of interesting things to think about. And we encourage the public to utilize the road systems in a safe way. And Charleston Moves is there for us to teach us how. If you need additional information, we can reach you at?
You can go to charlestonmoves.org to see more information about us. We're also on Facebook, and we always post on Twitter, and we have an email list that you can join on our website.
And of course, Charleston County Transportation Development has its own website and various other places where one can go. We can like you on Facebook. And we have a lot of you who are contacting us, and we want you to continue to do that. And give us your ideas on what sort of programs we should be providing to you as part of the transportation development, Charleston County Transportation Sales Tax effort. Until next time, I'm Cheryl Harleston.